I'm now going to ask Roshana Safar, the Managing Director of the Kashif Foundation in Pakistan, to come to the podium and deliver her remarks. And if we have been expecting Wolde Amha to also join us, so if you're here in the room, Wolde, we'd love for you to come up to the stage. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Well, the first thing when I saw the title of this session was, it's time for me to leave microfinance. There were so many issues up there that we needed to unravel. But I strongly believe that out of crisis comes innovation, and the past couple of years for the industry have been a process of self-reckoning. It's a time for us to really rethink some of the core values and fundamentals of our business. Many of the things Anton has talked about in his paper, I agree with. So unfortunately, you're going to have a bit of a repetition, but I'm going to try and give it a slightly different flavor as we move along. The first thing that I want to start here, my focus is going to be on over-indebtedness. That's an area that I think is near and dear to our hearts, and we really need to understand it and unravel it. There is a whole setting the stage behind it, so I will talk a bit about why and how it's occurred. Of course, I still believe there's a lot of work we need to do in terms of gathering evidence and in terms of getting our head around it. So this issue requires much more fundamental understanding. The work that Anton has done in this field particularly does highlight need for us to understand this matter more. I'd like to share an anecdote here. When we talk about over-indebtedness, and I've come across this in Pakistan as well, which is the country I know best, I visited a client once, and she had 18 loans outstanding. So one of the first things we need to understand is define the notion of over-indebtedness. When I spoke to the lady in question, and we tried to understand why the 18 loans were there, there is a whole outface or a whole sort of process that we need to unravel from the client's perspective, as both Anton and we've heard Tilman talk about it as well. So if we start with defining over-indebtedness, I think that's critical, and one of the best definitions that I've come across defines it from the perspective of the client. It's when clients are in serious trouble, and we'll try and define that. When they have to drastically give up critical expenditures, whether it's food, whether it's school fees, that's when over-indebtedness becomes an issue. It's not simply about saying that it's multiple loans out there. I defined an example for you, and I heard a similar example from Bosnia, where a client had taken 12 loans. It's not just the number of loans, but the impact that it has on the client, which is important to understand. There can also be one version of understanding over-indebtedness is looking at it from the client's perspective, but another is looking at it from a clinical and a very methodological perspective. There are definitions from debt servicing. Some countries have defined, or some entities have defined, debt servicing as the criteria. I personally think that's a very static criteria, because it doesn't signify, it doesn't amplify and emphasize the vulnerability of cash flows that both Tilman and Anton talked about. So if we say it's a criteria, it's okay if you're not over-indebted if you have 75% or less than your net income, then you're not over-indebted, and if you have more than 100% of your net income, you're over-indebted. That may be too much of a clinical procedure to understand. So personally, I feel that looking at over-indebtedness, and that's one message that I'd like to leave all of us with, from the perspective of the client. What impact does this have on the client? At the same time, as I shared earlier on, there are 4 or 5 perspectives we need to distill and drill down to when we talk about over-indebtedness. There is the impact that growth strategies that we followed in the past 5 years that have had on creating this problem. There are institutional and infrastructural gaps that Tilman talked about already. And then there are issues related to the value proposition for the client. And one other level is perhaps the psychology of the borrowers, which we need to understand more. And it's very interesting that there is a session today, tomorrow I believe, on the psychology of the borrowers. Because sometimes we may not have really understood the reasons behind multiple borrowing by the clients. If we look at the growth strategies, there are 3 areas that impact on this entire picture. The first is we have seen markets getting more competitive, and again, this is At times in countries, it's regional. For example, in Pakistan, it's the Lahore region. In India, it was Andhra Pradesh. So it's not necessary that competition is the same at all levels in a country. Then there is readily available wholesale debt financing, which also, if it's easily available, and we talked about the governance aspect from the investor's perspective, it may have an impact on leading us to push for numbers. And we have seen unsustainable, in some ways, unsustainable growth percentages in certain markets. So this is one scenario that builds up when over-indebtedness begins to happen. The second tier is really the infrastructure. So in many countries, we don't have consumer information bureaus, which, again, don't provide us full information. So there's an asymmetry of information that a lot of lenders face when they go into the market. Then there are stretched management information systems, and these also impact on our ability to handle this issue. And then there are all the issues that Anton talked about, whether it was related to poor lending practices, whether it was related to poaching of clients, zero tolerance on delinquency, or whether it was related to rigid and inflexible products, which in a way move us away from our client and reduce the value proposition that we have to offer. And then I think a lot of times we forget that many borrowers tend to discount the future. And that is another reason why, to meet those myriad needs that we saw, 14 needs that they had in the slide that Tilman shared with us, where they may be discounting the future to meet current needs. And that is a pattern that we need to understand more of as we strengthen our systems in the coming years. What impact does over-indebtedness have on the client? And, that, again, these are at so many levels, whether it's just the inability to pay installments to whether they lose their creditworthiness as a client. There is a psychosomatic side to this as well, in terms of the sociological impact it has on the standing of the family. And then there's a huge gender impact on this as well, when women are in the center of microfinance in many markets. So all of these are levels of impacts that ravage the relationship and reduce the value proposition. And over-indebtedness hits at the heart of the kind of relationship that we want to have with our clients. What impact does this have on the institution and the sector? Obviously, this impacts in terms of the financial sustainability, in terms of the brand value proposition, in terms of reputational risk, and at times political interference emerges as a result of this, as we have seen in some markets. Sustainability and mission impact also suffers as a result of this. And then, of course, we have cases where recapitalization, access to new loans, access to new funding dries up as well. One of the things I want to share here is how financial education and responsible finance can actually help to overcome some of the gaps that we've been seeing in the sector. And I'd like to share some data from a research that we've done. Over the past year, we trained about 70,000 clients at Kashf in financial education. And we wanted to see whether this was really having an impact on the relationship and the value proposition and the understanding and the implications that various lending practices and procedures have on the borrower and institutional relationship. So out of the 70,000, we interviewed about 576 clients. And we first looked at the income impact. And one of the things we saw that compared to the control group, the trained clients were earning 35% more, even in a highly recessionary environment as Pakistan faces today. 74% of the clients said that post the training, they were more likely to ask about the terms and conditions of lending and to look at transparency and truth in lending aspects of the loans that they were accessing. 97% also told us that they were now very cognizant of the need of investing the loans for productive enterprise lending into income-generating activities. So again, we were beginning to see that flanking of services with the understanding and the education of the client. 95% of clients also understood, and this was a problem that we had in Pakistan about 3 years ago, where we saw women, because in our context we work with women clients, pipelining those loans to men in the household. So the gender impact of microfinance in our case was getting slightly tenuous because of this. So we did see that 95% of the clients realized that it was important to invest the money in the businesses that they were running themselves. And 92% told us that they now were very concerned about over-indebtedness and taking up multiple loans. And 90% of the clients also told us that they were now making business plans of their businesses. So one of the ways that we feel that the notion of responsible finance can become more endemic in the relationship with the client is through financial education. So very quickly, what's the way forward? As I see it, there are again 2 or 3 levels of the way forward for us. One is at the sector level, when we talk about introducing responsible finance, when we talk about making sure that there is adequate infrastructure through a Credit Information Bureau. The next level is at the institution level. We need to look at better incentives for our staff, especially our loan officers, our frontline staff, which are not only target-oriented but are also transformational in their nature. We also need to improve corporate governance within our institutions, and we need to be more innovative in terms of enhancing the value proposition that we offer our clients. At the client level, there is more need for customization, and we need to be more flexible in the products we offer, and for that, cash flow-based appraisals can be one way of building that block. We need to introduce financial education programs and combine that with a consumer protection code approach. And last but not least, and I will stop here, I think the need for enhancing the suite of products, especially savings, across the microfinance industry at a global level is perhaps one of the most important imperatives for us. So thank you very much.